Hello, my name is H. Allen Scott, and I'm a Disney-aholic. It's true. I'm a Disney freak. I can't help it. It's just the thing that I have. I always say I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't go out and party, but I go to Disney. That's just what I do. I'm a very proud Disneyland annual pass holder. I have the highest one, so that I get the free parking, even though I know that it's not free because I'm paying for it, but it feels like it's free because they say it's free because it's a part of my tier. It's a thing. So that said, this explains why I wanted to have the chat I'm having on today's episode of the Parting Shot podcast, because I am chatting with the fantastic AJ Wolfe about her new book, Disney Adults. Now, this book debuted on the New York Times bestseller list, which is incredible. And the moment I saw that, I was like, I need to chat with AJ Wolfe about this book. Now, I'm a big fan of AJ. I have been for a very long time. I told her during the chat today that during COVID, I would go to her YouTube channel, the Disney Food Blog, just to kind of feel like I was in the park. And it was oddly comforting to be watching her channel during COVID. And since then, I've just continually watched her channel. But then when she came out with this book, Disney Adults, it's a fantastic read. I really can't implore you enough to go buy this. If you're a Disney person, you're going to want to buy this book. And what's so great about it is, even if you're not a Disney person, it really sort of breaks down why people are Disney adults and the different types of Disney adults, and also what motivates someone to become a Disney adult, and whether or not, Disney being a Disney adult is out of reach because of the prices at Disney. We talked about all of these things on today's episode of The Parting Shot, and it's a fantastic chat. I really do think you're going to enjoy it, especially if you're a Disney person. Now, I have two Disney episodes that are coming out today. This one with AJ Wolfe about her new book, Disney Adults, and her, obviously, food blog, the Disney Food Blog. But I also am chatting with David Vaughn, who is a Disney content creator, and you can check that out on the other episode that dropped today on the podcast. So it's Disney Day here at the Parting Shot. So sit back and grab a snack, because I will be right back with AJ Wolfe to talk about her new book, Disney Adults. AJ, let me start things off by just saying this. I like to start conversations off with a compliment. So I'm a Disney freak. I'm a Disney
Great.
person.
Me too.
Well, yeah, I would hope so with what you do for a living. And I'm a season pass holder, the top level, free parking and everything, free.
Oh my
as
God.
if I didn't pay for it. And I'm one of those people. And when I have to tell you, and I'm a Disneyland, I live in LA. But I love Disney World as well. That's my childhood vacation spot, similar to you in the book, which we'll get to. But I want to say to you that when COVID hit, so I remember our last day in the park, my boyfriend and I's last day in the park before COVID hit. And when lockdown happened, we would watch the parade, the new parade that they had introduced for Disneyland. And it only lasted like a month. And that was the last thing we saw there before it closed.
I know. And it's such a good parade.
It was such a good parade. But then what I found us doing, we would watch that over and over on video, but then we would go to your channel and we would just watch even old videos of food reviews of all the things. And it was kind of like because that's what we do in the park. Sometimes we go and we don't even ride a ride. We just eat food and shop.
Yeah.
And so I just want to thank you, first off, for your YouTube channel and the comfort that it gave me during a really complicated time.
Thank you. It's so funny because when COVID happened and our whole thing is we go in the parks and we eat stuff and we tell you about it and we save you money. And we're like, what in the world are we supposed to do now?
How did you navigate that? How did you navigate that?
So Disney, of course they came on and they're like, hey, we're going to be closed till April 1st. We're going to be closed for 2 weeks. And we're like, yeah sure. And so we all just, all hands on deck, got together in the conference room and we were like, what do we need to do now? Okay, let's go back to basics. Let's do what we did when we started this whole thing, which was help people and get them what they need right
Mm,
now.
mm.
And so that's what we did. We all sat in our individual little homes. I think our office still has 2020 calendars up right now because we
Uh,
haven't been back since then.
we have a
Um,
2020 calendar up, and I have an office calendar, and it's set to December 2020.
20
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
But we all sat in our little homes on Zoom calls, and we were all like, "Okay, what do people need? People need to know what to do with all the toilet paper that
yeah.
they have stockpiled. They need to know
Mhm.
how to bake stuff from Disney. All
Yes.
those things that we started to do during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, how can we make this Disney? How can we give this a Disney overlay?" And so that's
Mhm.
what we did. Was we were like, "What do we need right now? And whatever we need right now, everybody else needs to. So let's just do that content." And we pivoted, and it was so successful. So again,
Yes.
it just goes back to add value. Like, do
Yeah.
what people need right now, and you're
Yeah.
gonna be fine.
I mean, I'll admit I made very not so great Disney churros at home during that
Okay?
period. Perhaps something from your channel. I'm sure it was something from your channel 'cause that's what we were watching. Like I was making things at home, Disney things, and it just. But your channel, and even post COVID, we're not post COVID, but even post the lockdown and everything, your
Yeah.
channel has become. It's just kind of a wonderful comfort, I think, for Disney fans, and it just because you can't be unfortunately, we have real lives, you can't be at the park every day, and
Right.
so do you find now even with the audience that you have, that a lot of times there is this sort of nostalgia binge, enjoyment, joy watch that people get from your YouTube channel?
Yeah. Which I think is great. I love that people are finding that joy and that peace and that stability and that calm in the channel. And people have said to me, I turn on your channel to put my kid to sleep at night, and I'm okay
Mhm.
with that. Like, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
it gets you what you need, then and it's not illegal and I'm not hurting anybody, that's great.
AJ, I love you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to talk about Disney adults. So as soon as I saw, I don't know how, I feel like I'm on the radar of all Disney things, but because what I do for a living, lots of things just I miss because there's just so much.
So
And when
much.
I saw that this book debuted on the New York Times bestseller list, I immediately was like, I need to contact this woman and get her on the podcast. I need to
Yes.
own this book. I immediately started reading it. I immediately devoured it. It's a very fun, easy read, especially if you're a Disney freak. So, what for you? Congratulations, first
Thank
off,
you. Thank you
on
so much.
the huge success. Very well earned. But what inspired first off this book? Why did you want to write this? Because you could have written like a food book very easily.
I could have. Unfortunately, I can't cook anything. So, when my son was little, you know how little kids and they mimic what you do in the kitchen. So they'll get
Yeah.
a pot and a pan and they'll stir it. My
Mm.
kid would mimic opening a microwave and pushing buttons because that's all he saw in terms of making
I
food.
can relate. I can relate.
So, that's what we did. But
Yeah.
so this book at this time, basically, so we were talking about COVID and pandemic, and everybody moved online and everybody got real mad and they needed to yell at somebody, and it happened to be Disney adults at the time.
Yeah.
And so the concept of the Disney adult sort of became a thing really then. It's been a thing for a long time, but
Yeah.
people really started to recognize it and realize it then. It's when all the viral TikToks and Reddit threads and stuff like that came out. And so everybody's got an opinion about Disney
Mhm.
adults, and nobody actually knows who we are or what we stand for, or are we actually harmful to society in general. And so I wanted to do a deep dive, and this book is not a defense in
No.
any sense.
No, it isn't.
It is just a journalistic look at, hey, here's who we
Yeah.
are, if y'all want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I love about it is, I mean, I had this good friend who I'm trying to describe him, but he was talking about we were talking about Disney adults, and
Yeah,
he was talking about Michael and I, my boyfriend, about how he's like, "Well, you guys aren't like Disney adults. Like there are
Disney adults.
and I know there's a cringe factor to Disney adults." And I had to tell him, I was like, "No, we actually are Disney adults, and it's kind of okay. We're okay with the cringe. If you want to think it's cringe, it's cringe. But we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't go to bars. We don't do any of that. We literally just go to Disney. And
This
so
is it.
like I'm okay with the title Disney adults, but there is a stigma that comes along with being a Disney adult. So in
Yeah.
your research, what did you find about, and I've read it, of course, so I know, but like, what did you find about the root of that stigma and what drives it?
The root of it, as far as I'm concerned, the root of it really does go, um, there is the cringe factor, which I am 100% saying that exists, and we have every sort of fandom has a bell curve, and most of us are in the middle of it, and then there's some of us at the ends, and those are the ones that happen to get the viral TikToks done about
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
But really, with my chapter 4, I kind of dig into, okay, why do y'all hate us so much? What exactly is it about us that is so difficult for you to get your heads around? And one of the primary things that I landed on was that Disney adults like something that's for kids, or
Yeah.
that people think is for kids. And
Exactly.
that is otherwise you don't need to call us Disney adults, right? Like, I had a friend who was like, I think I'm a Phantom of the Opera adult. I'm like, no, you're just a Phantom of the Opera fan. Like,
Yeah.
that's, you don't have to use, the qualifier for that.
Yeah. You don't
So
have the closet like you described in your book. You don't have the
right, you don't need the
closet of,
closet.
yeah, yeah, the closet of merch.
With
Yeah.
the pork puppet, yeah, that doesn't
Uh-huh.
but, it's because it's for people think it's for kids, I should say, and
Yeah.
so, you get kind of grouped into the folks who are, like, collecting My Little Ponies or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes, exactly, and there is this, and I find at least that sometimes this sort of, the shame that comes with being sort of a fan of Disney. Like, I mean, I'm a person that has 0 shame, so I just talk and say things. But, like, I do find that some people, some Disney fans, they kinda hold back
Yeah,
on because there is this, in a weird way, it seems uncool to be a Disney fan, whereas Disney corporate, it seems like they've picked up on this, that this park is not, these parks and these things are not, there's a millennial focus on the nostalgia of the '90s and early aughts, that Disney as a brand has recognized that there is an audience for this, and they need to
mhm.
cater both to adults and to children. And in your book, you write about that goes back to Walt Disney's creation of Disneyland, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally. To Disneyland, even before Disneyland was a thing, going back to Walt's first foray into merchandise. I mean, the Mickey Mouse watch was not for children.
Yeah.
There were Mickey Mouse like watch fobs with
Yeah.
like the chain,
Mhm.
a 4-year-old's not gonna wear that.
No.
And so Walt always knew that the adults are the ones with the money, and they're the ones you have to really
Yeah.
entice to come and be a
Mhm.
part of what you're doing. And he has quotes even saying that. So he always knew that you had to make sure the adults were happy to come and happy to
Yeah.
consume your product. And Disney continues to do that. Yeah. In terms of the nostalgia, the '90s nostalgia, you would think that Beauty and the Beast, the animated Beauty and the Beast, came out last year
Yeah.
for all the
Mhm.
merchandise that is made around that right now. And that stuff's not for little kids, right? That
No.
is for people in their 30s.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yes. Last time I was in the park, I remember because we were big shoppers, and I passed people looking at watches, and I overheard someone saying, a cast member saying, a cat for anyone not Disney people, cast members are people who work at Disney.
Chloe.
Employee, yeah, exactly. But the cast member was saying that the watch was like $1,300 or something, and I immediately was like, "Whoa!" Then I had the realization that, like, a lot of this merch really is not for children. It's
No.
not for even of course, you have the plushies and everything, but, like, it's not necessarily for children. So there is this real, and in a weird way, you have to wonder, like, because for example, cigarette companies obviously had lots of lawsuits catering to children. And you look at Disney and they recognize that, like, some of this merchandise can cater to adults. And is it a bad thing? I don't necessarily, I mean, in my opinion, I don't necessarily think so, but, like,
Right.
when you were coming across and researching for your book, did you find sort of how Disney corporate works and markets to adults? Is there sort of an intent to get adults to enjoying what's going on right now?
Disney did not want to talk to me about this
Yeah.
book.
Not surprised.
But I did talk to a lot of former Disney employees. And I talked to a lot of former Imagineers,
Yeah.
and yes, 1,000%, they know where the money's coming from. They
Yeah.
they have a very up to date look at who's consuming their content, who's consuming their merchandise. I would venture to say the majority of merchandise found in the parks right now is not for children. The
Yeah.
majority of merchandise found at Disney store is not for kids. That is absolutely catering to the kidults, which is a
Yep.
word I learned when I was writing this book.
Yeah. Yeah.
The kidults who are trying to kind of uh be nostalgic about and re-engage with those things that they loved in childhood so much, and
Yeah.
they couldn't buy all of the backpacks back then that they wanted
No.
to, and now they can. So they're spending their grown-up money on this stuff that they would have bought when they were kids.
I mean, just to give a little peek behind the curtain of what it's like to live as a Disney adult. I mean, this is not going to be a surprise to AJ, but there is like I'm in my apartment right now, and I can quite literally reach to anything and pull up a Disney product. Like I can reach. Here's another one. I can reach. There's bags on my walls. There's just stuff everywhere,
Everywhere.
and
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of it at all, but like when you are writing a book like this, and it's obviously your brand, but like was there anything that surprised you in writing
Mhm.
this book that you learned that maybe you didn't know about Disney that you're surprised by because we're so steeped in Disney stuff?
So much. This was just eye-opening for me across the board because you think you know this company, you think you know this particular subculture. I've been doing this for 16 years.
Yeah.
But there is just so much. The biggest thing that surprised me and literally had to make me rework the entire way I was going to write the book, which
Mm,
sucked,
I'm sure.
was when I started to ask. I interviewed a ton of Disney adults for this book, and I started. One of my standard questions was always, do you get a lot of flack from your family and your friends and your colleagues, who are like, "Oh, you're going back to Disney again. Why would you do that?" And of course, I was just kind of pre-writing their answers, like, "Of course
Yeah.
I do," and they're like, "Nah, it's kinda," and I'm like, What kinda?" And they're like, "I don't really care about that, but what I really care about is the other Disney adults who kind of suck." And that to me just blew my mind. I'm like, well, there goes that chapter. Okay. Now we're going to
Yeah.
have to rethink this whole thing. But a lot of responses, because the first couple I just kind of ignored because I didn't
Yeah.
want to rethink my whole book.
Yeah.
And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, nope, we're going to have to talk about this because there is, in the same way, and I liken it in the book to a church community or high
Mhm.
school,
Yeah.
where you've got all these other people in your subculture, your community. And
Mhm.
there's a status and there's a hierarchy and there are judgments from other people
Mhm.
in the same kind of fandom that you're in, because you're not good enough or you're not ranking in this particular
Mhm.
fandom the way that they are. So
Mhm.
there is this whole, like, getting voted off the island part of being a Disney adult, which is fascinating in and of itself.
Well, yeah, and I feel that because even just like what I mentioned previously, how I often go to the park just to eat and shop, like, I do find among the Disney adults, I even sometimes when I post, like, a reel or something of my time at Disney, I'll have some Disney adults reply being like, "What, no rides?" And it's like they're surprised or, like, mad that I didn't go on a ride when it's like, I just wanted a hot dog. That's all."
Right,
You
but
know?
and there's this concept of, well, I know how to do it right, and that
Yeah.
could be how to buy merchandise. I mean, I'm not a merchandise Disney adult. I don't have a
Mhm.
lot of merchandise despite what's over in my shame closet. But I do, I mean, so I'm a parks Disney adult, so I know everything about the parks, but I don't know anything about the movies. I don't know anything about the merchandise. And so for people to kind of judge me based on that, whereas I'm over here judging other people who don't know the parks as well as I do. It's so wild, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so fun and awful at the same time."
Yeah. Well, how do you so if you're not so much because there are those people, there are different camps of people who are
Yeah,
very into the movies and the content that's produced, but also there are people who are just park people. For
yeah.
me, I find whenever a new movie comes out, one of the things that we like to do is we like to go to the park around when the movie comes out to go look at the new merch that the movie has created. So like for you, if you're not so much into the movies, when you go to the parks and you see the new merch and everything, do you feel maybe left out of the conversation because you're focused only on the parks when it has this new splash of content coming into the parks?
That's a good question. I have to know all of it because of my job, and
Yeah.
this is what we do. Disney Food Blog, all ears done. We cover everything, so I do know all the stuff.
Yeah.
Even if I wouldn't necessarily be that in depth on it if it wasn't my job, so I don't necessarily feel left out. But I will absolutely say there are parts of Disney adulthood like pin collecting. I'm not a big pin collector,
Mhm.
and I'll walk through and I just kind of don't even see the pins.
Mm.
But so I don't feel left out as much as I just kind of don't. I just don't even. I ignore it.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the thing that I think is so people don't realize how huge this subculture is. They
Yeah.
think Disney is just like, oh, these a couple of kiddie rides at a theme park. They do not realize they own Star Wars, they own The Simpsons, they
Mhm.
own American Horror Story. Like
Yeah.
Disney owns everything.
Yeah.
And like, believe it or not, whether you like it or not, you are interacting with Disney adults every single day, and everybody's got their little specialties, I guess.
Yeah, it's true because I'll find sometimes I'll go to the park and I'll come back and some friend will ask me something about Marvel Land and I'll be like, I don't know. I
Oh
don't
no. Yeah.
I walked through it to get to cars so I could get my cone. I
Right.
don't
There
know
were
what.
some warrior ladies
Yeah,
there.
there was
Like,
I
right,
don't know what they were
exactly.
doing, and it's you really do experience Disney in the way that Disney has manifested itself for you
For
largely
you.
from your child in your brain, and that's how you experience Disney, right?
1,000%. It's based
Yeah.
I really do think it's based on your childhood and what you fell in love with when you were a kid.
Mhm.
This is something else I tell people all the time. People get so mad when they change the parks, when they change the rides.
Yeah.
And I'm like, You know what? Your Disney is different from everybody else's Disney. And the thing that you're super mad about, someone else doesn't even care about because that they were
Yeah.
mad when they changed it to the thing you love, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you just kind of have to ride the roller coaster with everybody else and just know that
Mhm.
in 10 years, other people are going to be complaining about the thing that they changed now, you know? So,
Totally.
but it really does harken back, I think, to the thing you first fell in love with, whatever your Disney
Mhm.
is the thing that shapes your relationship with the company.
Mhm.
I do think that it's such a huge community and we're all so different about what we love that
Yeah.
even this subculture is fracturing into tinier
Mhm.
niches as well.
Yeah. There's also, and you write about this in the book, there's an emotional connection that you have largely through the entertainment of Disney. I mean, I'll just to share a recent story. Disneyland recently announced that there's going to be at, I think Clarabelle's Buffet or whatever it's called, there's going to be a Christmas Carol themed sort of buffet. And it's
Yes.
from Mickey's Christmas Carol, which I'm so excited about. But for me, that's so emotional because again, going back to our original origin Disney stories, when I was a kid, my parents separated. I went to go visit my mom. They had a bad relationship, so I only could watch Mickey's Christmas Carol VHS at my mom's house.
Yeah.
And it became that tradition that I always, and now it's only 20 some minutes long, but it is this like, it's this like nostalgic. I'll get so emotional. I know I'm going to cry like a baby when I go to that buffet. A
Yes.
buffet. I'm
Yes.
going to cry at a buffet. And it's
Yeah.
embarrassing, but it also just hits something in me that I just can't control. So for you, I want to ask you, how does Disney make you emotional? But also, if you could, you shared it in a book, but I'd like just to get a piece of it here. Your emotional root Disney story. Where does that start for you?
Yeah, that absolutely starts 1982 Epcot for
Mhm.
me. That's my origin story. Let's see, how old was I then? I was 5,
Mhm.
and my family would go. We would go on spring break trips down to the Florida coast, and so
Mhm.
we'd do one day at Disney. Back then, it was only 2 parks, and like not like roped off to fireworks, morning
Yeah.
till night, dark to dark.
Mhm.
And so that was it. And my dad and I would really bond, despite the fact that I was 5, over the background music in Epcot. We loved the music in Epcot. We bought the big LP,
Mhm.
and we listened to it at home all the time on our record player,
Mhm.
and that was my kind of emotion. So Epcot holds a lot of emotion for me, even today
Mhm.
when I go and I see that giant geodesic sphere, I like just start to tear up a little bit, which is embarrassing, but it's true.
Yeah.
And it's that connection to my dad, who I lost a few years ago, and
Yeah.
that continues to be where my nostalgia lives.
Mhm.
So that's for sure it. And I also do want to say just really quickly, a lot of us cry in buffets, but it's
Okay.
not because of the theme most of the time.
I don't know. I don't know. Clarabelle comes up and hugs you. I'm gonna start crying.
I am so happy they've got Clarabelle there.
Me too. Do they not have it at Disney World?
No, Clarabelle doesn't. You don't get to meet Clarabelle very often in Disney World. She is elusive,
I
and
did not know
so
that.
that is gonna be phenomenal, and at that buffet, they also have cereal milk, which makes me really
Yes.
happy.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
will meet you there at the Grand Californian when that begins,
Please
and
let me know.
We will
Yes.
go. I
I
am
would love
game.
it.
I am game for that trip. I am so game for that trip. Well,
I love
so
it.
I need to know as a Disney content creator, do you find that now because it is your job,
Yeah.
and having written about it as well, that you experience the parks differently now? How do you keep that joy for the parks maintained when it is your day-to-day job?
I don't live there, which helps a lot, right? I live in Dallas, Texas. I don't live in Anaheim, I don't live in Orlando. So
Wow.
it's still a it's still a travel, it's still a countdown
Mhm.
travel to, to the experience because I'm sure you understand better than anybody. Disney World and Disneyland are two very different experiences.
Very.
Disneyland is a locals park, and it
Mhm.
is absolutely a go in after dinner, ride a ride, have a Mickey bar, and go home. Whereas
Yep.
Disney World is like, oh man, I got to plan for 3 years for this.
Yeah.
And so I still have that, vibe that I'm going and I'm counting down, and I've got to go out of these restaurants, and what am I going to do? So it's still exciting in that way. I
Mhm.
also am very, very lucky that I have a lot of team members who work with me who are on both coasts and are doing a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of being in the park,
Mm.
eating 75,000 things in 95-degree weather with 100% humidity. And so I
Mhm.
don't have to do that every day anymore. I used to, but not anymore. So that helps too to keep the dream alive. So
Yeah.
I have an incredible team that's doing so much good work out there to make sure that people don't waste their money when they go to these parks.
Well, and money is a big and I kinda wanna wrap things up a little bit with kind of that, like, money recently in the New York Times, there was a big op-ed, I'm sure you read it maybe, on
Yeah.
the money and the price increase and how Disney they attested, the New York Times opinion attested, I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, attested that Disney is pricing out people, fans of Disneyland and Disney World. What's your take on sort of the economics of being a Disney adult at this point, and is it obtainable?
I think that has a lot to do with the stereotyping of Disney adults, honestly. The fact that these are rich white people with extra money,
Mhm. Yeah.
is the stereotype of Disney adults, and some of
Yes.
that is true.
Yeah.
And so I think that Disney is doing what any business is gonna do, right? They only have limited space in those parks,
Mhm.
and if too many people wanna be in there, then the only thing they can really do to make that to make sure that they're not overrun is raise prices.
Yeah.
And so I think they're doing what they need to do as a business. In terms of are they pricing out that trips into very dangerous territory, which
Mhm.
is Disney World a right? Y
Yes.
you know? Like,
Yeah.
um, so if they are pricing out a certain members of the community, is that good or bad? Should
Mhm.
everyone be allowed access to Disney World? And what does
Yeah.
that mean if we say yes?
Mhm.
So to me, I'm just looking at it from a journalistic point of view of Disney's being a business. There's too many people interested. I guess too many people are doing a really good job at marketing this place.
Yeah.
And they don't have enough room for all those bodies in there. So they're doing what they need to do to make sure that they're not overrun. So
Yeah.
it's a very difficult and delicate situation. You're getting into a lot of political conversations with that
Well, that's
and
the
economic, financial conversations with that, so it's tough.
totally, and that's an interesting part of it that I mean, I tend to take a position of, like you were saying, it's a business. It's
Right.
not a public good. Do I think that people should have access to adequate healthcare, water, housing, all those things? That's a public good.
Right,
Disney is basically my Sephora. It's where I go to buy the extra things and use my excess money to do those
right.
things. And it does bring about a really interesting conversation of, like I was saying to you before, I don't do anything else. I all
Yeah.
my luxury activities are makeup, food, and Disney. Like those are the three things. Nothing else
Same.
is spent. Nothing else is spent. So I'm not out here buying all the things and buying the cars and doing the things. No. And so there is that delicate conversation of, yeah, we do live in a capitalist economy and Disney is a business and it wants to make money. That's what a business does. And
Yeah.
so finding that balance is tricky because then you're talking about people's emotions. Like, we go back to those emotional connections people
That
have to
nostalgic
Disney.
connection and I, I grew up on this, so why can't I
Yeah.
access it now? It's real tough, but I will say this, and this is something we talk about a lot on my, YouTube channel and everything is that there are absolutely ways to access Disney for
Mhm.
very little money, right? So if especially park related, because that's what people are really worried about is parks. How do I get into the parks? How do I ride the rides, right?
Mhm.
There are parts of the parks that are free to visit, hotels, Disney
Mhm.
Springs, downtown Disney,
Mhm.
free to visit. You have, have access to the magic in very similar ways. You can buy
Mhm.
your Mickey balloon kind of thing. So there's ways to, get your fix without
Yeah.
buying park tickets,
Mhm.
1,000%. But at the same time, it's still a difficult conversation.
It is a really difficult conversation. So what is going my last question for you is, for the future of, A, where can people buy this book? That's the most thing. Like, where can people follow you and follow the things? But also, what do you see coming up for you on your YouTube channel and sort of for the business? Like, what's next for you?
What a good question,
Mm.
because the state of media in general is upheaval at the
Yeah.
moment.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I
Yes.
think we're both in a business that is
Yeah.
constantly keeping us on our toes
Whew.
and sort of the Wild West all the time. So
Yes.
answering a question, what is next, is tough.
Mhm.
Where you can get the book, you can get the book anywhere.
Mhm.
Amazon.com. If you want a signed copy, though, this is something I always want to tell people. If you want a signed copy, go to my website, which is dfbstore.com. And I've got stacks and stacks of books on my dining room table, and I'm happy to sign one for you and send it your way. Doesn't
Oh,
cost any more than it does if you buy it on Amazon. So you can go ahead
amazing.
and get that. But next for me is definitely going to be continuing to do what we've always done, which is our YouTube channel, our blogs, our social media, anything else that pops up, we're going to jump onto to make sure that we can deliver the best possible content to people who want to know about Disney, Disney parks, Disney cruises, things like that. How do you go without wasting your money? That's why I get up in the morning, is to make sure that you're not wasting your cash,
Mhm.
and giving it willingly to this giant media conglomerate.
Yeah, and I have to tell everyone listening or watching, like, this book is if you are a Disney person, this book scratches an itch that is both informative, but oddly also nostalgic, because it made me think of other things in my life, of Disney related things. And so I just have to thank you, A, for the book, but also for the YouTube channel, because I'm just like that mom putting her kids to sleep watching the channel. It is just a comforting watch. I don't even know. I'm not going to Disney World anytime soon, and yet I'm watching an hour of Disney food, Disney World food from you, and it's just so comforting. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you. Thank you for watching, and thank you for having me on this podcast. I am such a huge fan, and I just
Mm.
love that I got to chat with you.
Oh, I'm a massive fan of yours, so thank you. I'm telling you, you're going to want to pick up Disney Adults. It's a fantastic read. I really enjoyed it. Maybe I'm biased because I'm such a Disney freak, but like, I really did enjoy it. And thank you so much for listening to today's episode of The Parting Shot. I really do appreciate it. You can, of course, follow me at H. Allen Scott on everything. You can go to newsweek.com for more news, podcasts, videos, and all of the things. You should check out my cover story. I have a cover story with Helen Mirren out right now, and it's a fantastic chat. You can watch it on YouTube. In fact, go to Newsweek's YouTube and subscribe to that, because that is always good. And that's what people do in 2025. And you can, of course, leave a little rating and review wherever you're either listening to this podcast or watching it. In the meantime, watch something fun this weekend and have a good day. Isn't that weird how I said, I was like, have a good day. Have a good day.